So I'm going to act as Mayor Pro Temp tonight. Um, like we have, is Chris Ewald, are you on? I don't see him. Okay. Yeah, he was just gonna try and call in, so I just was double checking. Otherwise, all the council members are in attendance and Mayor is here online. We'll start with a prayer or thought, and then we will give the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm gonna say the prayer tonight. Our dear Heavenly Father, we're so very grateful for the opportunity we have to gather here together as city council and servants of this city. We're grateful for this opportunity and for all those who give of their time and their efforts and their energies to be here. Please be with those who are sick or afflicted, that they can join us next time and that they can feel better. Please help us as we make decisions that we can do things that are good for our city and good for the people that are here, and things that are also pleasing unto thee. Thank you so very much for all of the moisture we've received and all of the many blessings that thou hast given us here in this city. And I say these things in Jesus Christ. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, liberty and justice for all. All right, I will take a motion to approve of the agenda for tonight and the minutes from the March 28th meeting. Motion by Councilmember Nelson and second by Gasser, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, everyone approves. Is there any conflicts of interest with anything on the agenda for tonight from the council members? Great. All right, so now would be the time for public input. We only do this once a meeting where you have the opportunity to address council. So if there's anyone here who would like to speak to us or share with us any information, you're welcome to stand up now. There won't be another chance. Nobody? Hey. Great. So we are working on our budget for 2023-2024 fiscal year. If there's anyone who would like to present any details that they would like to discuss about our budget. All right, sounds like everybody's good with whatever we do, so we like that. All right, we'll go into reports. Mayor, can you hear me? And do you have anything you'd like to add today?
Yeah, no, I can hear you, and I don't have anything to report today.
Okay, thank you. City Council. Any information you'd like to share with the council? All right, let's move on to David Johnson. What do you got for us today?
Mayor and Council, I have a few things here brief. But the first item, I'd actually like to introduce Ben Muhlestein. Ben, if you want to come up to the podium and turn on that mic there. So we received about 4 applications for the Economic Development and Visitor Services Manager position. We interviewed 2 of those applicants, and we extended an offer to Ben Muhlestein. And I'll just kind of let him introduce himself, tell you a little bit about his background.
Hi, I'm Ben, obviously. I grew up in Monticello, bounced around doing several different things over the last few years. I worked most recently at the Canyon Country Discovery Center in Monticello, working with tourism and developing that company. And I'm excited to be here and working with you guys.
Great, welcome. Are you living in Blanding now?
No,
Are you still in Monticello?
for right now.
Gotcha. That is a good answer. Find a place.
So
to
his
land
family
him.
owned the greenhouse.
Yeah, no, I know they are. Welcome. Good, glad to have you. We're excited to see what you do.
Me too.
Okay, also, council, as you know, our finance director, Kim, has taken another position elsewhere and we are sad to see her go. Hopefully all of y'all see this. You had an opportunity, okay. We've posted the position, the Utah League of Cities and Towns and on the city website and et cetera. And so we'll just be taking applications here over the next few weeks and then hopefully have some good applicants to do some interviews with. In the interim, we have Polaris, who's our accounting software. We've contracted with them to fulfill the day-to-day kind of responsibilities of payroll, payables, receivables, fraud checks, et cetera. So we'll be tag teaming with them as well as utility billing, and those sorts of things. And then they'll help us pass the baton when we've hired in the new position. So
When's Kim's last day?
it's actually tomorrow. Mhm. Just as I just found out this next report, it's about the Wellness Center sprinkler and fire system. This is actually, hopefully, fingers crossed, really good news. While we still need to install the fire sprinklers, the sprinkling system, to meet state code. Originally, our understanding was that the way state law is with the alarm system, if you remember, there is the sprinklers and then there's the alarm, and then of course the bathrooms, which was separate from the sprinkler portion. State law says that any mass gatherings over 1,000 or a building that could be over 1,000 has to have a voice activated alarm. Well, thankfully, we have some great consultants with Jones and DeMille. Scoot was able to find that basically there may be an exception for an existing fire alarm. So if we don't change our existing fire alarm more than 50%, it's likely that we can just utilize that same fire alarm and save at least $100,000 on this project.
Wow.
So very great news. We got called this morning about it. We talked to our fire chief. We talked to the state fire marshal. We talked around it. We talked even to the state contract, Johnson Controls. And so we're just verifying everything to make sure we're good. But from all parties involved, it seems that that's a possible reality. So we're very excited about that.
So we wouldn't need to replace the fire alarm system at all?
Mm-mm.
Because I thought it was old and outdated and that was part of the issue.
Well, because it didn't meet that 1,000-person threshold. Does that
Oh,
make
okay.
sense? And so, but because it's an existing building, we're not expanding the building, we're not building a new building.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Essentially, we don't need to put that in. You do mention yet, so there is that caveat. If in the future the council wants to do expansion, there is potential that at that time we would have to install a voice activated alarm, which could cost more. So we'll get more details and let you know. But I guess maybe it'd be good to get advice and consent. If we find that we don't need to do the voice activated alarm, do I have advice and consent to just basically amend the proposals that we're looking for so that we can cut that cost? Or
So
do you
that
want
dollar
us to
amount would be
consider
saved from the loan that we were getting from CIB?
Yes,
Or
I mean, we have,
savings or both?
there's
or-
some of our savings, yes, there's the USDA grant and CIB. We would have to contribute at least some of that portion that we were before, but those are details I need to work out with CIB to just find out, what their preference is on how that would work.
And
But I
does
would
it affect
assume,
our,
oh, go ahead.
does it affect our application in any way?
No, so for example, if we say, for example, because of inflation, the costs went up, which potentially it's going to, we would go back to CIB to simply amend
Oh,
our original request. If the cost is down, we'll talk to them about that. I don't know. We'll see how it fares out with the way inflation is gone. Maybe the $100,000 savings, we'll see. I'm still hoping we'll see that tune of a savings for the project overall. So It's good news. Scoot, do you have anything you want to add to that? Yeah, like if we didn't add on later, we most likely would have to do that voice activated because we'd be doing in addition. Yeah,
Good
you
point.
would, yeah. Mhm. And so that's kind of the only caveat that I kind of want to get from you guys, because just know that if we do an addition later, whether it's 2 years from now or 10 years from now, most likely would have to do the voice activated, and it would be at an inflated cost than it is today, so.
We're ready to move forward with that project though, aren't we?
Absolutely, the proposals are being put together right now by those who bid. Yeah. Yeah, you'll want to come to the mic though.
Electronic stuff, computers and everything get outdated in about 2 or 3 years. So if you don't have to do it right now, I would suggest you don't do it, because even if you put a new voice activated one in, they'll probably sell you last year's model, and in 5 years it'll be old and outdated, and they'll tell you got to have a new one. So
Yeah, I think there's.
I would suggest, if you don't have to do it, not to do it right now, because it's electronic and they'll say it's outdated. I'm finding out stuff like that on the airport all the time.
Well, and one of the things that the state fire marshal said was that as far as the alarms, laws keep changing and keep going in a circle. They require all these and now they don't require all these. And so
Because
Yeah,
allow
exactly.
allowed deafening noise, it's about knocks you off your feet isn't enough. You gotta have voice
Yeah,
activated.
well, really what we've discussed is voice activated is really more for buildings that have lots of hallways, lots of offices, where maybe people might be disoriented. But our facility is a giant box with more doors than even what's needed. And so that's part of why we're confident, and we don't need to change anything to the alarm system. There may be, while we redo the bathrooms, maybe we need to add a couple strobes here and there, but it's not gonna, we believe it's not gonna amount to any more than 50% of changing. So.
Maybe when you come to us, we can just, because I think you make a good point. You make a good point as well. What's the best thing? And the money's been budgeted. We've worked really hard on this. And if we're planning to expand that building in the future, maybe something we want to consider doing anyway, but that you made a valid point. So, but maybe we,
There's a bigger chance that, they get outdated.
I would actually agree with that. I just wanted to make sure I kind of spelled out the options for you to guide us in the direction you'd like to go. So. Any other questions?
just something you want to say?
One more thing. Great, thank you.
One more thing to consider is depends on the size of the expansion. If your expansion is less than that 50%, but it's over like, I can't remember the number 30, then you may it may push you into the second tier where you don't have to replace it all, but only the new portion of the building. And so you may not want to commit to it. That's right. But you also wouldn't get a very good.
You wouldn't have to
support out of it.
upgrade. You know, if that makes sense. Yeah, right.
But we may only have to upgrade the fire system in that section, is what you're saying?
Right. That's
Okay.
if the expansion's small.
Or the fire alarm, I guess. Okay.
Right.
Hmm.
But it's like David was saying, it circles around so much that you might take it up, if you were to decide to do it now, you might take it all the way up to spec. And then 5-10 years from now, when you do expand, it might change, and then that would initiate having to replace all the old stuff. So
When this sprinkler system is installed, is it gonna be expandable?
Yeah,
yes,
Can we
Like the
can tie
building.
onto it and extend into a new part of the building if we ever so choose to do so.
right. Yeah, a lot of the big expenses, even just getting the water to the building, you got to bring a much bigger line. to the building.
right.
The fire riser that you put in the building, all that too.
Question.
Okay, Deep well, I'm actually gonna let Terry touch on that when he gets to his reports. And nothing's really changed in these items since we spoke last council meeting. So that's all I have for reports today.
Okay, thank you, David. All right, do we have anything for finance? Kim's on here.
If there are any questions,
Any questions on the check register? Where's the other? In here?
Kim and I do have the draft budget for the upcoming fiscal year in our work session. It's essentially done. There's a couple, obviously little things that we'll tweak before our work session, but
Okay. All right, Terry, you're up with water.
Council, the March water report is in your packet. Obviously the snowpack's looking great. You've probably noticed and seen the runoff started pretty heavy. If you've traveled at all back and forth to Monticello, recapture's coming up really fast. We had a lot of that low elevation snow and it's blowing out. So that looks good. The drought monitor I put in the staff report, the whole state's starting to look pretty awesome from a drought standpoint currently. And we hit up to about 254% of average annual snow water equivalent, the amount of water in the snowpack. So about 2.5 times what an average year would be. So that looks pretty good. Are there any questions? Oh, well, if you look on the water report itself, you can see where it says unused city storage, and that's just over 1,000, and so we have around 1,000 acre feet to go to fill the fourth, 135 to. How many acre feet is 10 cubic feet?
If I put 10 acres, 10 cubic feet, how long fill that 1,000 acre feet?
Okay, so with 10 cubic feet per second, that's about 20 acre feet per day. And so, let's do that.
Divided by pi.
Yeah, we could, that would be fun. There we go. We got our engineer back here. 135.
How many days? Divided by.
What's easy, the days is the easy part. Gary said 20 acre feet per day.
Oh, it can't fill in 20 acre feet per day.
So 20 and 10 to 1,000.
Sorry, 55 days. So around there. Yes, 10 CF. So we have been putting some water in the third, but we've moved everything to the fourth now. We anticipate topping in the third off with the upper ditch and then starvation. Kind of depending on how the irrigation company runs things. They have a couple other shareholders that are on the upper ditch too. So. Yeah, well, we're still a little wet. That's good too. Any other water questions? Okay, we'll talk a little more on another item here in a minute on water. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. All right, David Palmer, recreation report.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I don't have anything other than what's on the rec report unless there's any specific questions.
No.
Yes. Yep, this is the year to do it. So. Yeah, we're gonna do that here pretty quick. We do have to rent the equipment to do that because we don't have any of our own. And I've already talked with Justin, who rents out that equipment to reserve to get that going. So yeah, we'll do that here pretty quick.
And what is that? Turning the dirt?
Yeah, so
Oh.
remember last year before we put the new dirt down on field 2, it's something we wanted to do for a long time and was actually recommended to do, but to be honest, I was a little afraid that what if it messes up the fields and whatever. And so when we knew we were having some new topsoil come on field 2, and we tilled it up and then packed it down. We realized, hey, this isn't too bad of a surface now. It's way better than it was. And so we did that to field 3 and 4, and it increased the playability of the infield so much more. And we would like to do that one more time just to bring a little bit more clay in, and it made for a lot better surface. I think I walked out there on it with you, and
Yeah,
it was a big difference.
it really was.
Yeah, so
Plus they
that's what
could
he
have
meant
played
by
on that
turning it
field
over again.
before their own field. Those fields, they held the water better.
Yeah, and so now I'm not so afraid to do that, because if I did it and it was the wrong decision and messed it up, I'd have a lot of upset people with me.
Right.
So,
Well, I just want to say thanks for getting the nets up. We had baseball practice and a softball game going on at the same time. Nets were not able to get up. It had been wet. That was the first time we were on the field, and so I understand it, but it was very scary, when there's balls flying all over the place, it just is scary. And so I messaged David, and the next day he had him up. So I just want to say a huge
you weren't
thank
the
you.
only one to message me
Oh, good.
during that too. They're like, hey, so
Yes.
last night we got the flag up. So we had to
Good.
run a whole new line up to the flagpole, and our bucket truck won't reach it. So we had to get Terrell Pugh with his in there. And so some of that we weren't able to get until after he was through. So now all of the cables that have been busted and different things are all back up and ready. And so the rest of the nets will be up before Friday's tournaments. I believe there's some games on Friday too. So,
We're out of town. Softball's out of town.
oh, I know their fields weren't ready yet. I'm wondering if they won't be ready by Friday.
I
either.
bet
We're gonna,
Monticello's field's still a lake.
Mhm.
yeah,
So sad.
it's a good problem to have, but I mean, not for sports.
And then, do you have a plan where you go through and look at the restrooms? I mean, they're in bad shape, and then, we've been off season, but there's broken sinks don't work, the toilets are broken in half, the toilet seats, just it needs maintenance.
So, we just, you'll be approving that budget.
Oh,
I mean,
good,
I'm
okay,
hoping that you approve that budget that we're requesting to
okay.
rebuild those bathrooms the first week of July.
Oh,
Like the
good.
second we have the money available. So that is something that we have priced out and looked at. So we're ready to do that. So when that comes around, when you're looking at those numbers, just make sure you approve it.
That's
so
in
we can
there?
have it.
Well, they do need to be
So,
done.
yeah.
It's not really an option to
It-
sit on a seat
yeah.
that's in half. so.
Agreed. It's not, even if we spray out and clean the floors and the walls, it needs more than a little
Yeah.
bit of elbow grease. It needs some replacement of some stuff. You're absolutely right. So,
Okay. Good, glad that's on the docket.
yeah. Yeah, but we put the brand new ones in last fall, and this is the first time we've had refrigerated water out in the park. And there was a piece on the inside that we had no clue needed to be drained separate from just draining it. And it froze and broke. And so, yeah, so we had to order some new ones. I believe they'll be here Thursday, but yeah,
That's
was
probably the
just a total oversight on our part. We weren't aware that piece in there needed to be drained. It didn't say anywhere in the instructions. So just an oversight. We'll know better for next time though. It won't
Well, and
happen
it's
again.
good, it's better than it being broken off the wall by kids or, something like that.
It
So-
looked
Good.
horrible last year before we put the new ones on. So, and we have another brand new one that's going on the other side of the building as well.
Oh,
So,
good.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so get that installed. We got power put to those. We didn't have power there before. So, one of our electricians in town came by and having drawing a blank, and put power at both of those so we can actually have cold water drinking fountains in hottest parts of the summer. So. Yes, Devin Palmer, because yeah, it's so close to my own name, you could see why I would forget it.
Yeah, it's easy. Okay, any questions for David?
Coming up, just last time we were here, we talked volleyball. It will be ending with our tournament here on the 29th. And the tournament so far, they've been having a lot of teams, in the 60 range of teams again. So hopefully we
How
see
many
that
nets
again.
can you put up down there?
Pardon me?
How many nets can we put up down there?
At the wellness center, we put 4, and then we are also using the middle school where we'll put 2 more. Depending on how many people commit to coming, we may need to use the high school as well, but right now we're just planning on using the wellness center and the middle school. Went pretty well last year. That's what we did, but so if we get more than 65 teams, like we had last year, we may see if the high school can't help us out too. So good, that's also a good problem to have.
It is.
So
We just need a bigger facility. In my opinion. Okay.
any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank
Thanks,
you.
David.
Um,
All right.
Councilmember
Yes.
Powers, there is one other thing that I failed to mention in my report that I wanted to tell you about. We just found out today that the city toward the deep well project will be awarded an additional $100,000 on the project from the Dig Deep Foundation. So that's something I wanted to make. So great, sorry.
Good, good. Thank you. All right. Chief Bradford, it is your turn.
Mayor and council, you've got the stat sheet and little staff report in the packet. Do you have any questions for us? Questions for your guys out there.
Was there really an explosion at the shooting range yesterday?
Kids playing with tannerite.
Playing with a lot of tannerite? out
Yeah, I
there?
think so.
Oh, my goodness.
What time was that?
Been about 9 o'clock last night or something like that.
Is that what the sirens were when I was going to bed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of, there was a lot of confusion going on. There was reports of a shooting and some other things taking place. And turns out we had groups of kids shooting tannerite at the range and other kids playing games in town. And between the bang and the other kids yelling, they thought there was shooting and things happening. So it got exciting for a few minutes and then turned out to be nothing.
I
So is
looked out the window and I went, "Man, I'm going to bed."
There any, excuse me, is it not that I'm saying I want this, I'm just wondering, is there any charges that you would file? Is there an excessive amount of tannerite that they can use that's illegal?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Like, because I heard it was very dangerous, and I don't know, I'm getting it third hand from,
I think using more than 1 or 2 containers at a time is dangerous.
right,
They may.
but
just
it's not a
fight the
violation of
laws
any law.
nature on that one and
Got lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. Wow,
The natural selection, you know?
yeah. we figured out what Darwinism is again, so.
wow. Well, hopefully parents found out about it and they can have a chat with their children.
I think some kids have already been spoken to.
Oh, good. I just had one quick thing. So the police, and this happened once, either last year or the year before. They're pulling over someone and they happen to pull over in our parking lot right here. And then we end up having guests call our front desk saying, is everything okay? Is this a safe place to stay? The police are outside and their lights are on. Is that, can I ask you not to pull into our business, or is that just whatever it happens, it
Kind of just
happens?
depends on where the person getting pulled over pulls in.
Okay,
The guys try to light them up where they'll just pull to the side of the road and
yeah,
they're trying to, we find that people are just trying to pull off the road to be safe
yeah.
and they just pull in parking lots or stop in lane of travel and.
I'm
Okay.
pulling into a parking lot every time.
No, and I would too. I mean, that's just safer than being on the side of the
Mhm.
highway, but I just didn't know if they're, and I was thinking about that. I'm like, they can't just stop them and say, sorry, can you please move into another parking lot? You know, it's not really practical. So we're just telling them that, hey, it's safe.
Yeah,
They
it's
just pulled someone over.
Yeah,
But,
we're just doing traffic enforcement and trying to slow people down.
all right, I thought I'd mention it to see, but I'm like, I don't think there's anything I can do. So.
Coming back on the street, but
Right.
it is nice to be off the street, protecting your business sometimes, so
That's true.
a lot safer for everybody involved.
I saw a post on Facebook about 100 East. About the safety of that street and the speed of the vehicles. And I can't remember where I saw it posted. It was just a group, Neighborhood Watch, the Blinding Neighborhood Watch. Asking the police if they would police that street more. 100 East, I'm pretty sure it's 100 East. So that, yeah. And there was a lot of people who commented that people are going too fast and it's an unsafe street and there's kids out in the street. And so just to be aware.
Right.
I felt like they were maybe gonna make a presentation to city council, whoever asked the question, that they might bring it to city council, but that did come up. I don't know if we want to light on that street, one of the flashing lights or something, but. There you go. Well, they were wondering about, dips in the street to slow people down and yield signs, and there's a lot of discussion on it.
There's actually a couple of stop signs already on that street. That's where we have our accidents.
Yeah.
On that stop
On
sign.
stop signs, yeah.
It is
Yeah.
good.
That one in Third West too, nice and wide and big.
Yeah, we can work it and we come up with.
Okay, well, maybe they'll bring it to city council. I don't know.
They give a specific time frame, time of day or anything that's just worse than others.
I didn't see any comment about that. Most people were making pretty general statements that it was unsafe. I'm glad I saw it because if it's a concern for, there was a lot of comments on it. So if it's a concern for citizens, we need to know, but they were just asking about whether speed bumps or yield signs or having the police monitor more, or they were trying to come up with solutions because a lot of people on that street feel like it's unsafe for the kids, but they didn't say a time.
Right.
And they were asking how many accidents people had been involved in on that street as well, so.
I think people mentioned that it was around the time that school gets out. So I think the schools get out at different times as far as the elementary school kids get out. And then it wasn't safe after the high school kids got out because they go down that road is one comment that I read. And I think the biggest, probably the main concern is 100 East and 200 South there.
That's right. Yeah, something about the high school kids maybe.
But we did add a stop. We've added 1 or 2 stop signs on that street. Not within the last year or so, but within the last 5 years, there was a stop sign put there.
Just ask them to not patrol in the school zone and scoot over one block and.
If it helps, yeah. It might even be nice for these people to see that we saw their concern and you're just gonna keep an eye on it, so.
Yeah. Do that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else? Thank you, chief. Okay, is Corey here? Chief
So
Spillman?
he's not, he had a conflict tonight and he came and spoke on the incident last council meeting. So here's just general reports for the last quarter. If there's any questions, I can take those back to Chief Spillman.
Do you have any questions, council? Okay, let's move on to our business items then. The 2023 water forecast and water availability color code. Hard to say.
Alrighty. So, I'll take the liberty to finish my water report. Dave reminded me and I still didn't mention anything about the well. So the deep well, the conductor casing is installed, which is just 40 feet of casing out of the 1,400 we'll put in the ground. They bring in a special rig for that, a bucket auger. So that's complete today. We expect sound wall to start getting constructed. And then in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I would expect to start actual drilling the new drinking water well. And I know that the contractor, they pulled the rig off the last location it was at, and they're just doing a little maintenance before they bring it up from Arizona. So
Good.
that part's going well. Okay, so the water forecast, I guess this is probably new for maybe a few council members, or did we have everyone last year at this time? Probably everyone except for Councilmember Ewald. So we run the water forecast, we have a model and kind of look at how much water will come off the mountain and specifically in our mountain pipeline. And that's about 1,700 acre feet is what we predicted from the model based on our available capacity of 1,900 feet. We know that we'll fill our reservoirs. We also have the upper ditch, so that way more than makes up for the 200 acre feet that we won't get through the pipeline, but we can put in Starvation or the third reservoir. And so really the recommendation is for council to accept the 2023 water forecast. And with that, that would move us from an orange color code situation to a green color code situation. Of course, that also moves our water rates for our water rate plan. So any questions, comments on that? Wonder how he got that there. Yeah, we,
Reporting it.
obviously it's not from LaSalle, it's from the Bajos, so. You know, poor Kaysen, he's kind of from Escalante. He could be a little bit geographically challenged over here. I can have him update that. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, council member.
Wouldn't that be nice though, huh?
Yeah, we need, yeah, if we get some water
On a
from there too,
pipeline.
that'd be wonderful.
All right, so we need,
A motion to accept the
We
twenty
need a motion.
twenty-three water forecast and the water availability color code.
Just please make sure your mics are on, so I'll pick you up.
all right, so we'll take in a motion to accept the water
I'll make
forecast.
the motion to accept it. Accept
Can I
the,
finish my statement?
oh, sorry.
And the 2023 water year forecast and the new color code, sorry. Go ahead.
There's a lot more than I can remember now.
Oh, that's right. Just kidding.
Which page are we on?
I want to stay yellow.
Read the subject line
I
on
want
the
to stay
staff
on
report.
yellow.
This right.
Encourage
Ah.
conservation.
I'll make the motion that we accept the 2023 water forecast and water availability color code of green. And
That's it.
okay,
That's it. Great. Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt you.
I'll second it.
We have any discussion on the matter? We have a,
I really think we should stay trying to keep people to conserve. I mean, just because we have water, there's no reason to just dump it. Be conservative. I mean,
we can be conservative without charging them more for doing it. We can recommend that.
I know when it hurts my pocket, that's when I think about it the most.
When you bring up a good point, that's the only way people generally respond. And studies have shown that's why you do these tiered systems, because people respond when it hits their pocket, but. And with everything else hitting everybody else's pocket, with good water, it shows green, so that's kind of where the recommendations.
and I think had it been a moderate water year, maybe wouldn't even be making this recommendation. I think that would be a good point. I still think we should push conservation. I think people in Blanding understand that just because we have a good water year, it doesn't mean that we will continue to have good water years. So I think people are pretty good, but I agree. We don't want to hit their pocketbook if we don't have to.
And I think we go to green per policy where the water levels are at. Am I mistaken on that? Yeah, so per policy, we go to green, so.
But council could technically change that, right?
Yes.
We could.
Yeah.
All right, well, we only have 3 people voting, which means we only have two people.
No, you can
to-
still count.
I can vote?
Mhm,
Oh.
You still count.
But when I was mayor, I
No, when you're mayor pro tem, doesn't take away your rights or. voting
Mayor Pro
authority.
Tem is the best place to be.
I get a vote and control the meeting.
Yeah.
Dang. Just kidding. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the forecast in the code of green. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. The motion passes.
Awesome. Yeah, we still do want to definitely promote the conservation. You know, we're gonna start off really good in our reservoir levels, and of course, we'll use some down later in the year. And if we don't have much of a winter next winter, you know, so we always want to conserve. And, you know, that can help us have a better color code next year and better rates. So thank you. Am I good to go on the next one?
Good point. Is that one yours? It is yours. Yes,
Yes.
please. Resolution 411-2023-1.
Okay, if you didn't have an opportunity to look at all the staff report and everything, so back in the late 90s, the third reservoir dam was renovated and some new agreements were put together, kind of governing how we interact with the irrigation company up there at the third reservoir and with our pipelines and all of that. Those agreements were designed for a 25-year life, and they both expired simultaneously last September. So we've been kind of working towards this, getting a new agreement in place between Blanding Irrigation Company and Blanding City. So the irrigation company owns the ditches and they bring water into the third reservoir. And they own the 18-inch pipeline that goes from the third reservoir to the water treatment. And they need access to our third reservoir to get the water from the ditch into their pipeline. That's one of the things these agreements allow for. The city used their 18-inch pipeline to bring water down to our parks, cemetery, institutional customers. And so that's part of the agreement. Another part is the half a second foot that we divert out of Recapture Canyon into Camp Jackson and on down. Yes, Councilmember?
I was just gonna ask where that water diverted, it's diverted that high.
Yes, yes. And and then the other kind of part of that is in the past, and we currently want to going forward, we've allowed the Blanding Irrigation Company to use excess capacity in our mountain pipelines. So that could be from our Johnson Creek diversion down to the third reservoir, or even from Dry Wash Reservoir down to the third reservoir to bring that storage. We've been working on this agreement. It was my intent to have council pass a resolution approving this agreement. And we got feedback from our attorneys late last week and enough time to put this in the packet. And I believe we were ready to move forward. After speaking with a couple representatives of the irrigation company, they have a few concerns about wording. And so what I would like to see the council do, or what I would recommend that the council does, is make a table approval of this document and make sure that we've got it, both parties happy with where we're at before we approve it. And we also need a motion that would allow for an interim use for Blanding Irrigation to pass water through the third reservoir until we can complete the agreement. And Blanding Irrigation is willing, to let us take that half a second foot out of recapture, on a continuous annual basis, which is part of what we're putting in the agreement, and also allow us to use the 18-inch pipeline that we need to use to get water on down to our parks customers. And so talking with Dave and with the president of the irrigation company, we feel like that's probably the best approach right now. Irrigation season will begin
Today?
Saturday on the 15th.
They opened the pipe today out of recapture.
Did they end up doing that? I was told that they were not going to yet, but
That's the text message that I got this morning.
I think that changed since then. So, we have so much water coming into recapture, I think.
Can we make it in one motion or has it gotta be two?
I'm not the procedural guy, Dave.
Table it in one motion?
Table it and the interim use, just to be safe, let's do it in two motions.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we table this until staff can tell us they're good to go.
So just to clarify, thank you. There's a motion on the table. Anyone want a second before I?
I'll
give
second.
discussion? Okay, second on the table. So the reason we're tabling it is because the attorney made some changes and you want the irrigation company to review, they want to review those
They
changes.
just need a little more time with it, yeah.
Okay,
I had hoped or thought that we were probably so close that they would be okay with it, and that's really not the case yet. So we
gotcha.
just need a little more time.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on tabling the irrigation agreement. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Okay. On
Aye.
on the second item, I will make a motion that we have an interim agreement that water use can happen with the irrigation company.
Or does this just need to be advice and consent that you can do an interim agreement since the agreement's not
Probably could
here?
be advice and consent. yeah.
I think advice and consent's probably sufficient because we're not entering into a formal agreement. You're just saying we're good with us using their line and then vice versa. So.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my verbiage. Let's use it.
Okay, what he said.
The motion on, there's nothing here.
So
to
advice and
on.
okay. Yeah,
Advice
and
and
technically-
consent, okay with everybody? All right,
Thank you.
passes, thank you. That is all on the agenda tonight. I do think we have a closed session for possible litigation. that
Yeah,
We're discussing
pending, yeah.
pending litigation.
That's correct.
So anyone's gonna stay for that, you're welcome to stay. Otherwise, we will take a motion to go into closed session and shut the doors.
Almost, should we go into closed session?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Passes. Yes.
Man, planted tomatoes, I should have planted.